Chris Eckert, Keller Williams Realty. I want to share some stats for you. Can anybody guess what these numbers are? Except for Ray, maybe. Ray might not even know this either. Can you see that? The ink's a little bit light.
Yeah, 25 is less than 3. 65 is less than 4.
Failing third grader.
Well, you know what? Okay, there you go. Okay, so I'll put a percentage sign on here. Okay, so what this means is, and this contributes to the lack of for sale properties all across the country right now. You know, so I was in Austin with the top 98 the 98 top agents out of 140,000 agents within Keller Williams. Okay, so these are the top people from all of Keller Williams, all across the country. All of them complained about the lack of properties to sell. And that's what's supporting housing prices right now, is because there's not much available. And part of the reason for that is that 25% of the people who have mortgages across the country right now have a mortgage under 3%. 65% of the people have mortgages under 4%. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that if let's just say I'm living in a house, okay, it's just me and my wife, right? Okay, and our 6 pets, all right? So and let's just decide, let's say that with 6 pets, maybe we need a bigger house, okay? Well, now we look at our mortgage and we say, well, Ray got us into a mortgage, I think we're at 2.875, I think is what we're locked in at. So we look at that and we say, God, this house, it sure would be nice to have a bedroom for the dogs, okay, and a bedroom for the cats, so we need a bigger house. But then we look at that and we say, okay, wait a minute, if we sell our house, let's just say we got, to make up a number, $3 million for the house, okay, great price for the house. But now to get that bigger house, we're gonna have to pay, say, $3.5 million for that house. Well, we look at that and say, wait a minute, we've got a mortgage rate under 3%. Now we buy this new, more expensive house, and the interest rate's gonna be, what's jumbo rate today?
Say on an arm, 5.75 at a point.
Okay, 5.75, and I gotta pay
6%.
6%, okay, so 6% just to balance it out. So basically, for us personally, we are more than doubling our mortgage for getting a house that works better for us. My wife and I would probably say that doesn't make financial sense. Same kind of thing. Let's just say you have a single person, maybe a husband or a wife that's lost their spouse, and they say, it's just me in this big house. I want to step down into a condo. Sometimes they look at that and say, you know what, even if I buy a cheaper property, because I'm at such a low interest rate in my big house, that condo is going to cost me maybe more money because my interest rate is so low. So that's one of the reasons that we're not seeing a lot of inventory on the market right now. And even though you look at the interest rates and you say, okay, properties are less affordable now than they used to be, and there's not as many people buying, the lack of inventory is helping to prop the prices up. So that's one of the reasons we're not going to see a big crash nationwide in real estate prices. The other reason is that, so some of the things that you need to have a real estate crash is you need a lot of properties on the market, and part of that is a lot of foreclosures. Well, if you look at the average foreclosure rate right now nationwide, we're only at about half of what the norm is. Not even the norm during a down market, but just half of the norm if you go back 10 years. So there aren't as many distressed properties. And then if you look at the ones that are distressed, most of those people have equity in their properties. So if you're having a hard time making your mortgage payment, but you've got plenty of equity, there are options out there for you. Maybe you've got an equity sharing program that there are some alternative lenders that are taking a share of your equity in exchange for helping you out on your payments a little bit, or giving you some cash. So there's a lot of reasons like that why we're not going to see a real estate crash. And another thing that we're seeing in the market is, you see some property. How many of you have seen a property that's come on the market in your neighborhood and hasn't sold. Okay, all right. Anybody else? I guess raising, what's that?
Well, I was saying ever or just?
But just recently, just recently. Well, and maybe it hasn't, maybe it's still on the market. In every price point is different, but you're seeing a lot of properties that have either they're sat for a while, they finally been pulled off the market, or you're seeing price reductions. And the reason for that is a lot of these properties are getting offers on them, okay? They're not getting as high of an offer as a seller might like, and many times you've got a property that's getting offers for over the asking, but it's not going high enough for the seller to say, okay, yes, we'll take that. And the reason they're doing that is back to the interest rate. A lot of people, so they get an offer on a property and they look at it and say, okay, you know, let's just say it's an investment property, maybe an investment property they used to live in, okay? So they refinanced with, say, Ray a few years ago, and they got in at below 3%. Let's say they bought another property, kept that one as a rental, and they want to sell it. Well, they think they're going to get this great price for it, and they do get over the asking price, but maybe not as high as they want. And then they look at it and say, wait a minute, if I sell this, remember this is an investment property, if I sell this investment property that I've got an interest rate of less than 3% on, now I buy something else to rent out, I'm going to be paying, what's an investment property right now? Are we talking 6.5, 7?
Yeah, 6.5, 7. And if
Okay.
you want that example, you know, like a $1.5 million loan, so 3%, the payment 6324, 6,324. The 6% is 8,993. So you got a difference of $2,669. So that's a pretty substantial increase.
Okay, so their mortgage, so if they choose to sell, let's say, a single-family home, and they maybe want to buy a duplex or something, they end up $2,000-some more per month, right? So a lot of these people, even though they're getting what normally would be considered a good offer in a let's say a regular market, they look at this and say, well, I'm giving up 3%, now I'm gone to the 7, my mortgage payment's going to go up by $2,000-some a month. You know what, financially it doesn't make sense. So you either have already seen it, or you're going to continue, you're going to see more of it as people make these calculations. So that's another thing that's going to keep the inventory level low, or the sales level low. Let's see here. Okay, so another thing that is helping prop up the real estate prices across the country is it's the lack of inventory. But just to give you some statistics, if we go back to 2008. Okay, in 2008, what happened in 2008? Credit crisis. We had a mortgage meltdown, significant mortgage meltdown. Okay, in 2008, the month's supply of for-sale homes, and let me define that before I show you the number. The month's supply of for-sale homes, if you take, let's just say you have 100 homes on the market, and you're selling 20 per month. Okay, you have a 5-month supply of for-sale homes, right? So that's one of the stats that realtors use to track the strength of the market. Okay, National Association of Realtors says that a balanced market, balance between buyers and sellers, is 6 months.
Wow.
Okay, so National Association of Realtors says that this is nationwide. Now, I don't know that we've ever gotten to that number here in the Bay Area, but if you say 6 months supply, or sometimes they call it I guess month supply of inventory. There's another term, I just can't think of it right now. So 6 month supply is balanced. Back in 2008, we were at 13 months. Okay, so 2008 we were in 13 months. So that's why you saw prices go down so much. Plus you had the subprime borrowers who never should have gotten a loan anyways, that were defaulting, so their properties were going on the market. That was 2008, and these are nationwide statistics. If you look at today, we are at, what's a guess? So today, this is nationwide. If 13 months was what we were at in 2008, We are in a much more difficult real estate market now than we were in the past couple of years, but just take a guess on what the month supply of inventory is today nationwide.
1.5.
Well, actually, you're low. Now that's we're at that
In the Bay Area?
in the Bay Area. We're at that. We're a little bit lower than that.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it's actually today. Let's see, 2023. We're at 2.6 months. Okay, so this is another reason why we're not going to see a meltdown in the whole the real estate market, is because if the National Association of Realtors says 6 months is balanced, and this is a number that's been consistent for a very long time, so it's a pretty accurate number. If they say balanced market is at 6 months and we're only at 2.6, that says that we're still in a very strong seller's market, so that's keeping prices up. I mean, you are seeing some markets like here where prices have dropped a little bit, they're on their way back up, but across the rest of the country, most markets, you're seeing at least a little bit of appreciation. So the people who think, okay, I'm just going to wait until the bottom falls out of the market and I've got cash, I'm going to come in and I'm going to buy a property, it's probably not going to happen. Okay, and then another interesting thing, and I should have brought the book with me, but I had somebody the other day that said to me, well, Chris, we're going to wait until the mortgage rates go back down to 3% or below. And I said, well, how long do you want to wait? And they're like, well, just a couple of years. We'll be back down to that rate. And I said, are you willing to wait 5,000 years? Okay, and the reason for that, there's a book, and I have it. It's called Debt, the First 5,000 Years, and it goes all the way back to Mesopotamia, okay? I had forgotten the name Mesopotamia since high school, right? High school, history class or whatever? So this book in there, it details, they didn't call them mortgage rates back then, but just debt. If you owed someone money back then, what were the rates all throughout history? And if you look at the past, how long were we at the 3% or below rate? A couple years?
Years for sure.
Yeah.
All during COVID, we were and under.
Yeah. So if you look at a 2-year snapshot, we were below 3,000 years. We were below 3%. 2-year snapshot, we were below 3% mortgage. Compare that to the previous 5,000 years, it had never occurred. So the chance of that happening again is, I don't know that I would take that bet. It's just highly unlikely to happen. So I think that what's going to happen is, yes, people are affected by the rates right now being up. I was listening to an economist this morning that thought that we would get back down to the 5% range later this year. My prediction is that right now people's heads, they're getting them wrapped around the fact that we're in the high 6s or even 7%. If we hit the 5s again, I think you're going to see a refinance boom, and you're also going to see the real estate market back on fire, because people's perception will have been reset to the 6, and down in the 5s is going to seem like a deal. Right now, their mindset is still in the 3s. They're gradually getting used to the 6s. So once the 6 becomes their set point, then 5s are going to seem cheap. So that's my prediction on the real estate market. Okay. All right. Well, thank you.